Hi, this is Jeff from the Ozark Mountains in Missouri, USA. Well, this video originally started out as a quick fix where I was replacing the memory battery in this Tandy Model 200. And then I realized it really needed the front polarizer film replaced. And the owner said, yeah, go ahead and do that. And rather than having two separate episodes that were related to the same machine, I combined them into more of a normal episode, but in two parts, kind of like a double feature. That way, perhaps people that are looking for how to replace the polarizer, how to replace the battery, will be able to locate that easier with a search on YouTube. So anyhow, here we go. Let's get started. Thanks to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. They not only do PCBs and flex PCBs, they also have 3D printing service, injection molding service. They do CNC machining, sheet metal fabrication. They also have a thriving maker community where you can share projects and check out what other people are doing. For your next project, head on over to PCBWay. This is going to be another quick fix video. We have here a Tandy Model 200 computer that somebody sent in to have the battery replaced, but I wanted to share it with you because this box is in remarkable condition. It was shipped in the original box, packed in another box. So we'll go ahead and slip it out of here now. We have this, a Tandy Model 200, oops, with a sticker on it that says it sold at one point for $129.95, maybe at a secondhand store. This looks to be in really nice condition. Oh my goodness. No battery corrosion. We are loaded up with ROM. It's got the ROM tube by Clouseau. Manufactured in 1985, so we're 41 years later. It's got the port covers. Let me get the dust cleaned off of this packaging and then we'll get to work installing a new battery. Alright, the trickiest thing about taking this whole thing apart is getting this plastic cover off, and the manual is absolutely wrong on how to do it. There's a little place to hold on each side, so you hold there, you push real hard in the middle, and you pull it down, rotate it towards you like that. Then you have the LCD cable, which comes down like that, and I did want to show you that. Plug it in here. It does turn on, but it will need the battery replaced, and the screen is awfully dim. I can barely see it. I know you can't see it in the camera. It's really dark right here in the middle. So I think the polarizer is going to need to be replaced. But we'll start with the battery. Since the screen's a separate unit, we'll go ahead and take this apart and see what it looks like on the inside and get to replacing that battery. Okay, pull the LCD cable down. Oh, excuse my boarding house reach here. Wrong screwdriver. Okay, there are 4 screws here. There are longer ones that go through these metal brackets. Shorter ones go through plastic only. Kind of lift up and go like that. And we've got the LCD off. And there are 4 screws on the back, kind of similar to the Model 100 and 102. Pop in here like this. side. Oh, a little piece of cardboard came out. Tip him back, slide him off the LCD cable. And here we have the inbuilt RAM, the keyboard cable, the keyboard, of course. So we need to get this sat out of the way. We can undo the keyboard like so. You just slip the collar here up. It'll release that flat flex cable. This is the option ROM slash RAM board. And it's got a little release here. Some factory black tape. We've got this wire, which runs down to the piezo. It's all red. This is red black in this corner. That runs down to the battery tray. I think we're hanging up on that RAM that's installed in here. Yeah, okay. So go very carefully pry these out. Yeah, these are the purple computing modules, same ones in the 100 and 102. Okay, so now this board is loose. We can unplug him from the main board very carefully. This is hard to do because the cable's so short. This cable comes loose here. Okay. Well, it's kind of really stuck in there, so I'm just going to leave it into place, I think. Lift these out of here as a set. There is a shield on the bottom. Pop that back in the case. Case out of the way. The positive is on this end. And yep, it is marked on the board. Okay. So we're adding a little solder to the battery connectors, I think. Ah, that was not the battery. This is the battery. Like that. And I'm going to push the left side of the battery. I'm going to push it to the right and pull it down at the same time after I heat the solder up. Remove that pin from the board. Did the same thing on this side. Give it enough time for the solder to heat up all the way through the board. Now the battery's out of there. It's that easy. Now you can use a solder sucker, you know, an automatic one like this, a manual one, braid, whatever, to get the remaining solder out. Again, let it heat enough to melt the solder. Okay. Supporting both boards as I'm manipulating things. Need a pair of pliers to hold the battery. Positive at the left side like the original. Work him down into the holes. Now the pins on these batteries are about as large as the holes themselves. That allows them to stay in place while it's going down the assembly line. Otherwise they would vibrate right out. Okay. Again, we want to keep the iron on here long enough to heat up the battery leg and the solder joint. It's probably 7 or 8 seconds total on that one. You can watch the solder flow around the leg as it gets hot enough. Okay, that's it. That's all there is to replacing the battery. I have replaced capacitors on the 200 before. I've never found them to be bad, so I suggested to this owner that we don't do the caps. You know, the new ones might not last any longer than just leaving these in here. They don't leak. The values don't seem to shift over time. This unit doesn't get particularly hot. So I will put this back in the case, which is just the reverse of us taking it apart, and then we'll test it to make sure it still works. So as you can see, we got it back together. I did want to point out that these two screws you only need to loosen. This connects the inside frame to the outer frame of the LCD. You do need to loosen them though, so it'll slip over the pegs here. These screws you do need to take all the way out. To put this cover back in, slip it down in the slot here, tilt it forward, and I find a spudger is very helpful here. There we go. And yeah, the screen isn't great. You can see I ran a short test program there. It's even less great in person, so I'll talk to the owner to see if he wants to try to put a new polarizing screen on there. But this does it for this video, which was just about how to replace the memory battery. So we'll go ahead and remove the two shorter screws that we left on when taking the LCD off the Model 200. And then we're going to slightly lift up at the bottom and slide the top or the front of the case down towards you. And then use a plastic spudger or similar tool to gently pry around the exposed edge of the case to snap the two halves apart. Now we have our pieces separated, and we can see that there's 4 screws that hold the circuit board into the front part of the case, so we'll want to take those 4 screws out. So here we can get a better idea of the state of that front polarizer. It's really darkened in the middle. We can see some wrinkles have formed. I'm going to take some Brilliant Eyes on a rag and wipe down this whole unit. It's a mild glass cleaner and it prevents static buildup. So what I'm trying to do here is get rid of any fuzz or dust or dirt that's on this unit and help prevent it from collecting anything else. And you notice I'm working on a piece of craft paper that I laid over my workbench also to help keep dust away. Luckily for this application, we don't need to take the LCD glass off, but here are all the twisted tabs for the frame that we would untwist with a small pair of pliers if we did need to do that. I've got the LCD temporarily hooked back up to the computer so I can offer up the polarizer film to see which orientation it needs to be in. You need a big enough piece of film that you can orient it either way. And the original film goes to within about 2 millimeters of each edge of the metal frame. So here I'm measuring the size of the new film I need to cut. And I noted that down on my brown piece of paper there, which was kind of convenient having that to write on. I start trying to peel up the old polarizer film from the corner with my fingernails, but that's not working very well. So then I switch to a new single-edged razor. You can kind of slip it under the edges. On this polarizer, the edges are the only place it's really held on tight. In the middle, where it's all discolored, it's quite loose. So it's just a matter of getting it started. You can see the outside peels off here. And the Then we'll take the razor blade and scrape off that stuff that's left in the middle. Here we are at 4 times speed, scraping all that film off of there. It's not too exciting. Once you get under the edge, though, it goes pretty quick. It then sticks to the razor blade, so you've got to clean it off. But you just keep going at it, and eventually you'll get all that off of there. The new polarizer film has a protective sheet on both sides. So I used a Sharpie marker to draw out the size of film I needed to cut out, and you can see I'm offering up here to make sure I got the size right. This is my first attempt. I'm peeling back the protective film on the sticky side. Then I'll offer it up to the LCD glass and use a little plastic spudger or squeegee that has a rubber edge to flatten it down on the LCD. This seemed like the best way to go to start with, but I didn't have good success. Trapped a lot of dust under the film. It was kind of disappointing. After watching some videos on how this stuff is put on professionally, I tried making myself a larger squeegee out of a scrap piece of plastic that I rounded the edge over on. This was faster, but it still trapped a lot of dust and stuff under the squeegee. It didn't get all the air pockets out. It was not the way to go. This is my 4th attempt at applying new film. You can see on the right center there's one little blemish there, but overall it looks really good and it's actually usable now. So I'm just gonna stop right here because I don't think I can get it better. My first 3 attempts look like this. It was a disaster. There's all sorts of dust and air bubbles under the film. Definitely not usable. And the problem here is technique and cleanliness. You want an absolutely clean environment, and most of us don't have a clean room in our house. So what did I do different? Well, on my 4th try, I waited until after I took a shower, put on new clothes, and I went immediately to my workbench and tried to do this so I'd have the least amount of detritus on my person. I wore this fancy hairnet I got from Amazon and went back to the squeegee, and it worked. I also switched from using a rag to clean everything with to these Bausch & Lomb Sight Savers. So we can see the one small inclusion. There is one little piece of dust under here that you can find when you look at it, but it's not that objectionable, and I don't think I'm going to get any better in a home workshop environment. So what difference did we make? This is the picture I took for part 1, looking at the screen like you would do when you were using the laptop. And as you can see, it is completely unusable. If you get this at just the right angle to the light, it does look a little better. This is the usage position, as I said, completely unusable. With the new polarizer, it's as good as I've seen a Model 200 look. The screen is not perfect. We've got that one little blemish on the right center, but hey, we can use it now. I did notice putting that outer cover on, it's got some sort of frosted appearance. That makes it a little blurrier, which is odd. So to wrap this up, I would say this is a project you can do at home, but you need to be meticulously clean. With these large LCDs, it is very easy to get a random speck of dust trapped under the new film.